The new world reserve currency, BRICS. The US dollar has reigned supreme as the global currency for decades, but a new challenger is emerging. The BRICS Association is unveiling a new currency that could spell the end for the dollar. This move could have major implications for the global economy and could ultimately lead to the dollar's downfall. The BRICS currency. Before jumping into the concept of BRICS currency, let's first understand what BRICS actually is. Well, BRICS is an association of different economies that are working together. The acronym BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These countries are some of the leading economies in their respective regions. Together, they comprise over 41% of the world's population and have a combined GDP of over $21 trillion. Now, BRICS is up for something new. Let's uncover. So, on the eve of the 14th BRICS summit, Putin announced that the BRICS nations are working to introduce a new global currency. In a seemingly successful attempt, two major powers of the world, China and Russia, are pushing other members of BRICS to reduce their dependence on the dollar. So how will the BRICS currency affect the mighty US dollar and the global economy? Let me guide you through. The US dollar has been the global reserve currency for many years, but its dominance is being challenged by the rise of the BRICS nations. These countries have been working to increase trade using their own currencies rather than the dollar. This will lead to a decrease in demand for dollars, and as a result, the value of the dollar will begin to decline. After the inception of the Bretton Woods Agreement, the US gathered unprecedented levels of control economics. Since the US was the only country to print money, so all other economies were directly affected by the US economy. For example, if the US wants to acquire the latest drone technology from China, then it will simply print the money and buy the technology. But due to this printing, there will be inflation in other economies. Also, the US had all the means to manipulate not only the developing economies, but also the BRICS nations too. Failing to have enough dollar reserves would prove to be catastrophic for other countries, and this shows how much power and influence US and US dollar has over other economies. But now, BRICS is trying to turn the tables with the introduction of its own currency, which seems more stable and decentralized. How? Let me explain. 1. BRICS currency would bring in more stability, as fluctuation in one currency or economy would not affect all other economies, which is happening in the case of the US dollar. Here, in fact, the four economies will come to the rescue as it will stabilize the one affected. For example, if the Indian economy sees a dip, it can still rely on the other four economies of BRICS to stabilize. As Putin says, the issue of creating an internal reserve currency based on a basket of currencies of our countries is being worked out, too. In the current situation, the US enjoys hegemony over all other developing and developed nations, thanks to the Bretton Woods Agreement. Probably these are the reasons. Now, more and more countries are trying to cement their place in BRICS. Argentina, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey are among the many countries that have applied to be a part of this growing association. In addition, the BRICS nations have been investing heavily in gold, which is seen as a safe haven asset during times of economic uncertainty. This has further undermined the dollar's role as the global reserve currency. Recently, it's been reported that new gold reserves worth $12 trillion have been discovered in Uganda. Now, guess the origin country of the mining company. If you guessed China, you're spot on. These very developments could lead to the pre-Bretton Woods Agreement time. Currency backed by gold. While it is clear that the US currency will lose its dominance, it's now only a matter of time before the US currency is taken down from the top of the currency chain. After the introduction of BRICS currency, a weakening US dollar would no longer affect the economies of these nations. In simpler words, the BRICS countries will no more reliant on the US currency. The world order is changing. The odds are against the all-powerful West-backed US dollar, as BRICS currency will dominate the world with its seemingly fair fundamentals. But what this could mean for the future of international trade? So this is what it will look like. International trade after BRICS currency. The BRICS nations have been increasingly vocal about the need of reform of the global financial system. In particular, they have called for a greater role for their own currencies in international trade. At present, the US dollar dominates global trade, with around 2/3 of all transactions being conducted in dollars. Sale and purchases of assets like oil and natural gas were also conducted via the dollar. This gives the US a significant degree of control over the world economy. The BRICS nations argue that this is unfair and that their currencies should be given greater prominence in international trade. They also point to the benefits that this would bring, such as increased stability and reduced transaction costs. The days are not very far when the BRICS currency will take over dollar dominance, and will be the global reserve currency. The bottom line is that the rise of the BRICS nations and their currency is historic, and that it is likely to have an extraordinary impact on global trade, as it will bring more stability and decentralization to the global financial system. Conclusion: the bottom line is, US currency is likely to be dethroned from the topmost hierarchy of the currency chain, thanks to the introduction of BRICS new currency. With the BRICS currency being more stable and diversified, now economies will prefer it over the centralized currency as an alternative to the US dollar. So, investments in the new BRICS currency and also in gold will convincingly provide handsome returns in the future. So this is it for today. If you feel that the video is worth sharing and liking, then don't stop yourself. Also, if you want similar informative content with investment advice from world top investors, then do subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.